The art of being alone is a concept that speaks to the practice of embracing solitude and finding comfort in your own company. Although it's explored in various contexts across philosophy, psychology, and personal development, it is most notably discussed in Lane Moore's book, How to Be Alone, If You Want to, and Even If You Don't. In this book, Moore examines the idea of being alone in a world that often pressures individuals to constantly be connected to others. Rather than seeing solitude as something negative or to be feared, Moore presents it as an opportunity for self-discovery, growth, and emotional well-being. Here's a breakdown of the key ideas from The Art of Being Alone. One of the most important distinctions that Moore makes is between solitude and loneliness. Solitude is a voluntary state, a choice to be alone and enjoy your own company. On the other hand, loneliness is often involuntary, and it can stem from a feeling of disconnection or not having meaningful relationships. Moore argues that solitude, when embraced, can be incredibly fulfilling and even a source of personal growth, whereas loneliness is a feeling of emptiness that arises when we don't feel connected to others or ourselves. The pressure to always be social. Modern society often places an intense pressure on people to be constantly social, connected, and engaged. Social media in particular exacerbates this by presenting a distorted view of other people's lives, often making individuals feel isolated if they're not constantly surrounded by friends, lovers, or experiences. Moore critiques this societal expectation, arguing that constantly striving for external validation and connections can lead to emotional dependency, self-doubt, and stress. Learning to be comfortable with yourself. The book advocates for the idea that being alone is an essential skill that leads to better self-awareness, confidence, and mental health. When you spend time alone, you learn more about your desires, needs, and boundaries. Instead of relying on others to define your sense of worth or purpose, you develop a stronger relationship with yourself. Moore encourages readers to embrace their alone time as an opportunity for self-reflection, healing, and self-compassion. Often, loneliness is a sign of deeper emotional or psychological needs. Moore suggests that time spent alone can be a crucial space for healing. By being alone, we can confront unresolved issues, process pain or trauma, and learn how to deal with emotions in a healthy way. Rather than distracting ourselves with external noise or social media, alone time gives us the opportunity to be present with our feelings and begin the work of emotional healing. Solitude as a path to creativity. Moore also discusses the connection between solitude and creativity. Many artists, writers, and thinkers have thrived in solitude, using the time alone to explore new ideas, write, create, and reflect. Solitude can provide the mental space needed to innovate and push the boundaries of one's thinking. When we're alone, we're less distracted and more focused on the internal world, which can foster creative breakthroughs. The importance of self-love and acceptance. Self-love is a central theme in the book. Moore argues that true self-love isn't about constantly seeking validation from others, but rather about learning to love and accept yourself in your alone time. Being comfortable with being alone is an expression of self-acceptance. It's about understanding your worth, not needing anyone else to define it for you. 7. Dealing with the fear of being alone. Many people fear being alone because they equate it with being unworthy or being left behind. Moore discusses how this fear is often rooted in societal pressures, past experiences, or childhood conditioning. She encourages people to face this fear, as doing so is the only way to transform solitude into a source of power and comfort. Alone time can become an empowering space when we let go of the fear of being abandoned or unloved. Cultivating healthy relationships. One of the ultimate benefits of learning how to be alone is that it leads to healthier relationships with others. When we are comfortable in our own company and don't need constant validation or external distractions, we are more likely to enter relationships that are genuine and based on mutual respect. We also become better at setting boundaries, communicating our needs, and recognizing unhealthy dynamics. The book also addresses how digital technology, particularly social media, complicates our relationship with loneliness and solitude. We live in an age where social media gives the illusion of connection, but often leaves us feeling more isolated or inadequate. Moore discusses how digital platforms can exacerbate feelings of loneliness because they present unrealistic portrayals of others' lives. True solitude, Moore suggests, can be found when we disconnect from digital noise and focus on the real world around us, embracing solitude as an opportunity. Rather than seeing time alone as a burden or something to escape from, Moore advocates for embracing it as an opportunity for personal growth, peace, and creativity. Solitude allows us to recharge emotionally, rediscover passions, and build a strong sense of identity without external influence. By making peace with being alone, we can begin to find joy and satisfaction within ourselves, regardless of our relationship status or social connections. Conclusion: The Art of Being Alone, as explored by Lane Moore in her book, is about reclaiming solitude as a powerful and life-affirming practice. Moore teaches that being alone is not something to be feared or avoided, but something to be embraced for personal growth, emotional healing, and creative exploration. The ability to be comfortable with one's own company leads to a more balanced, fulfilling life. It offers the space to process emotions, build resilience, and develop a deeper understanding of oneself. In essence, learning to be alone is a journey towards self-love, independence, and inner peace.